I think we are witnessing the slow death of refinement, not because people don't know better, because we have stopped teaching it. So, who teaches us how to make someone feel welcome? Who teaches us how to host a beautiful dinner? How to dress for occasion? How to look someone in the eye when they're speaking? How to write a thank you note. Do not get me started on the thank you notes. How to disagree without losing your dignity. These things just don't happen. Someone has to pass them on. And if families aren't teaching them and the schools aren't teaching them, then who is? Maybe that's why so many people feel disconnected today. We have become incredibly educated, but have we forgotten how to live well? I don't think refinement is about being wealthy. I think it's about choosing thoughtfulness over convenience, because every generation passes something on. The question is, what are we passing on now?
You can lose years of your life simply by living on autopilot. And the scary part, you usually don't notice it until you look back and realize how much time has passed. Welcome back to Courage by Grace. Let's talk about living intentionally, not perfectly, but deliberately.
If there is one thing in this life that I can guarantee, it is that you will get more opportunities when you become visible. Visibility equals opportunities. Visibility equals outcomes. Closed mouths do not get fed as much as open mouths do. And the people who are willing to put themselves out there to be perceived by others, a lot of the time are the people that are getting what they want. And do you know why that is? It's because being visible is something that not everyone is doing. Hence why it sets you apart from everyone else. Don't get me wrong, is it the scariest thing to put yourself out there? Absolutely. But listen, if you know you want to be successful and you're bound to be successful, do you know what the people who are CEOs who are high up in ranking have? Visibility. And a lot of the time, the difference between people living their dream life and getting what they want out of life versus not is that visibility. Because visibility gets you community, gets you outreach, it gets you advocacy. It is hard to do this life alone. I'm going to be honest about that. The more people you have in your circle, the more people that are willing to advocate for you, the more people that are willing to put themselves out there for you, the better and honestly easier life gets.
I actually agree with this, but I think be visible needs a little clarification. Because being visible doesn't mean you have to make your entire life public. It means being willing to let people know what you're capable of, what you're building, and what you're looking for. So think about it. You can be incredibly talented, but if nobody knows you exist, opportunities have a hard time finding you. So maybe if you're looking for a job, tell people. Maybe you're starting a business. Talk about it. Maybe you have a skill that could help somebody. Let people know. That's not arrogance. Sometimes it's simply communication.
Think about people who get their jobs through networking. They were visible to other people. They told people what they wanted, what roles they were looking for. They tapped into their community and they were able to get a role. Or in the same breath of jobs, sometimes putting yourself out there and being visible to a hiring manager in person, that can change the game for you too. Once you take yourself out of this bubble of what 99% of people are doing and you become that 1% where you're willing to push yourself further, you will be successful. Well, you know what? Let me not promise being successful, but I promise you will be more successful than you would have been following what everyone else is doing. That I will say. It might take some time, it might take some leverage, it might take some advocacy, it might take some community, but you will be better off. Visibility equals opportunities. Visibility equals outcomes. Don't be your own worst enemy by not being visible.
And this part is important because you were never designed to do everything alone. Sometimes we convince ourselves, I don't need anybody, I'll figure it out myself. But honestly, that can be exhausting. The right community can introduce you to an opportunity you didn't even know existed. Someone can recommend you for a job. Someone can share your business. Someone can encourage you when you are ready to quit. So don't hide behind the fear of being judged. Be visible, but be intentional about who gets access to you and what you are making visible. Because Proverbs chapter 27 verse 17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another.
I think the piece of advice that no one wants to tell you, but it's essential that you know, is that life is not always going to give you chances. And I know we love the positivity. Nothing is going to pass by you, but that's just not true. As someone who's in their 30s, I have watched brilliant people never amount up to their potential. I've watched amazing, wonderful people make bad decisions that cost them their life, both literally and figuratively. I've watched myself have to reconcile in my 30s with what I thought life was supposed to look like in my 20s or even in my teens. This idea that everyone's life just pans out to be amazing and great and it always works out in the end, that's just not true.
This is uncomfortable, but it's something we need to hear. We love saying, you have plenty of time, and yes, you shouldn't live terrified of the future, but you also shouldn't use that idea as an excuse to keep postponing your life. Some opportunities really do pass. Some relationships end. Some years don't eventually come back. And unfortunately, some choices have consequences that can simply be undone. That's not meant to scare you. It meant to wake you up.
I have friends who have passed away from drunk driving. I have people I went to high school with, college with, who were brilliant, but they never really got there. And life is long, things can happen, but this idea that you have that life is so kind and it's going to give you a million chances is not true. That's why it's really, really important that you be intentional. You be intentional with who you keep around, with what you do, how you speak to yourself, how you treat your life. Be intentional and be kind to yourself, because life won't always do that for you.
Ask yourself something simple. What am I doing with the life I have right now? Not the life you wish you had, not the life someone else has on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever it is, but your life. Who are you becoming? Who are you allowing around you? Who are you constantly telling yourself? And are your daily choices taking you closer to the person you say you wanted to become? Because intentional living isn't waking up every morning trying to have a perfect day. It's making better decisions on purpose. And if you have wasted time already, don't sit there beating yourself up. Learn from it, because today is still a day you can use wisely.
Every high-value woman has structure and routine. You should not be waking up every day all willy-nilly, figuring out what you're going to do today. That's a waste of time, and your time is precious. I like to have slow mornings, and I like to have slow evenings, and I like to take my time doing my skincare and making my breakfast, and I like to romanticize everything about my life because that makes me feel better, and that makes my day go better. But you cannot do that if you do not have any type of structure. If you're waking up in the morning and you don't even have your day planned, now you're rushing, you woke up late, you're trying to figure out when you're going to do this, what time you're going to do that, when you could have literally just made a schedule and a routine. It's literally as simple as opening your notes and writing down everything that you need to do for the day. So before I go to bed the night before, I go on my notes. I think about everything that I want to do for the next day. I write it down. I make a plan in the order that I want to do that. I say, hey, I want to get these things done and I want to start doing them at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to wake up at 9 o'clock. That gives me enough time to do my skincare routine, say my morning affirmations, make my breakfast, and then I can start my day and I know exactly what I have to do for that day. Then, once I'm done doing those things, I have the evening and the night to myself to rest, to relax, to calm my nervous system, or just to do anything fun that I want to do with the rest of my time.
And honestly, this sounds simple, but it works. Because sometimes we don't need another motivational video. We need a plan. Okay? So if you wake up every morning asking, so what am I doing today? You're already spending mental energy deciding things that you could have decided the night before. You don't need a military schedule. Just give your day some direction, yeah? And also write down the important things. Put them in order. Give yourself time to eat, shower, pray, wake, rest, and breathe. Structure doesn't make life boring. It creates room for peace. And here is something I think we forget. Being intentional doesn't mean being busy every second. Rest can be intentional. Spending time with your family can be intentional. Sitting quietly with God can be intentional. Even saying no one can be intentional. The goal isn't to squeeze 50 things into one day and then call yourself productive. No. The goal is to stop letting life happen completely by accident. So decide what matters to you, give it your time, protect your peace, and let the little things in your daily routine reflect the life you're trying to build. Now listen, maybe today isn't about completely changing your life. Maybe it's about changing one decision. Put the phone down a little earlier. Call the person you have been meaning to call. Apply for the opportunity. Start that project. Clean your space. Make the plan. Spend time with God. And stop waiting for some perfect version of your life before you start appreciating the one you're actually living. Because listen, one day you're going to look back at this exact season, and I hope you can say, I was intentional with it. Not that everything went perfectly, not that you never made mistakes, but that you showed up, you learned, you loved people, you grew, you trusted God, and you didn't spend your entire life waiting for tomorrow to start finally living. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 15 to 16 tells us to walk carefully, making the most of our time. So live deliberately, love deliberately, choose deliberately, and most importantly, walk with God deliberately. Because you don't need to know exactly where the next 5 years will take you. You just need to make sure that the steps you are taking today are steps you won't regret tomorrow.